Hi, good evening for all. So today we are discussing about Infosys interview questions. So you can you are you are seeing my screen, right? So this interview, I was faced in this interview on 26th April 2025. And you can I'm already list out all the interview questions below, and we will talk about interview questions one by one. Okay. And everybody know about these questions. I know it is a repeated questions, and continuously asking from 3 4 years, and there are some difference. And if I- if you ask these questions as a who is really working employee, how they are, how I mean they can tell, and with with who is working, who is practicing, and uh, you know let me explain in detail, like uh, as have you you are a DevOps engineer, you are the working employee, and if you ask these questions, you can tell the way of communication. And I'm a non-IT guy. I'm learning from uh, you know from all these tools, and interviewer asked to me, and I can say some other way but non professional way, because I'm not using a standard communication skills. Okay, I will be differentiate. So differentiate between non-communications and unprofessional answers and professional answers. So then you can see and observe. Okay, I will share my. Okay, I will go with ChatGPT. Okay, and below the interview is ready answer, but so non-professional and simple answers. How many people naturally speak, and professional polished answer, good communication skills and interview standard. Okay, what is I know? Okay, I'm a non-IT guy. So if they are interviewer asked to me, and what is inode? It is a index node. It store the file data. It is a file details like permission, owners, and size. It does not store the file. And Linux use inode to manage the file. Okay, if it is some other way, the same question you some other way, the professional manner, an inode or index node, it is a data structure used by Linux file system to store the metadata about the file. It contains information such as file information, ownership, size, timestamp, pointer to the actual data block. The file is not stored the inode, the file name is not stored the inode, and instead of directories, mapping of file names to the inode numbers. Understanding of inode is important for troubleshooting of disk and file system related issue. So this is like professional matter. If you know the inode, we can say like because easily we can say like it is a store the like file information, owner size. So that is not professional manner. If you can say in this way, yeah, it's with good communication skills. So that's why I need to share this information. Okay. Yeah, if you delete the resources manually in a cloud, and how to revert it by using a Terraform. Okay. If you delete a resource manually, you know about how to revert. Is technically, by using of Terraform apply. Before you can use for Terraform plan, and then you can run with the Terraform apply the restore that resource. But you need to explain Terraform works as a desired state model. If resource is created by Terraform is manually deleted in cloud, but still existing in Terraform code and state. So running of Terraform plan and will detect the drift, and Terraform apply will create the missing resources. This help to bring the infrastructure back to state defined in code. Okay. In this way, we can explain, uh, they will observe the, if your interviewer ask to me, and they will ask not only answers, they will observe the uh, you know communications. And so what is the difference between refresh and plan? So refresh, refresh is update the state file, so that is we know. But so Terraform refresh update the state file to match the actual infrastructure without making any changes. It accepts the current real world state. Okay. Terraform plan. So in other hand, compare the desired configuration with the actual infrastructure and show the what changes in Terraform will make. That's why the plan will always use to before apply into production. Okay. Let me go with the Terraform workspace in non-professional answers. So workspace is used to dev. So Terraform workspace we are using for dev and prod environment using with the same code. Okay. In professional answers, Terraform workspace to allow us to use the same Terraform configuration and while maintaining the separate state file for a different environment such as dev and test and prod. Each workspace is own isolated state which help to manage the multiple environment without duplicate the code. However, the for production environment we have separate backend or accounts are preferred. Okay. Let me go with Kubernetes architecture explain. Explain about the Kubernetes architecture. So in this way, so Kubernetes have master and worker nodes, and master manage the and manage the cluster, and worker nodes worker nodes you know con worker node side we can manage that application parts. So in professional manners, the Kubernetes follow as a control plane and worker node as architecture. The control plane include the components like API server, etcd, scheduler, control manager, and which manage the cluster state and scheduling of decision. And worker node run the components kubelet and kubeproxy and container runtime, which are responsible for running application pods, and Kubernetes continuously reconnect that actual state with the desired state. If you know about detail about API server, API, you need to explain API server. It should be always communicate with all service components, and it steady store the information of the cluster, and scheduler schedule to the worker nodes, and control manager to control the replication controller, node controller, service controller, and that's it. And the worker node said about kubelet proxy. Kubelet is act as a agent. All our remaining components are working as container. Kubelet is maintain job. I mean schedule the jobs into the worker node side, and in the queue proxy allow the traffic, and and allow the traffic into the worker node, it is act as like firewall of the pod, and the container runtime to maintain our container successfully run. So which is responsible for running of application pods. Okay, and then go with what is HPM? HPM, horizontal pod order scaler. So whenever increase the pod, whenever traffic is so when threshold will increases, we need to increase the pod. When the threshold will be decreased, we need to decrease the product. So in the professional answer, so horizontal pod order scaler automatically scale the number of pod replicas based on the metrics. So which type of metrics, CPU or memory or custom application metrics. It help to maintain the performance during the traffic spikes while optimizing resource usage and cost. So in this way, okay, if you know about your, I mean, if you're really working on in a 100 part art scaler, so then you uh, in hard and order scaler, whenever threshold be increase, we have to give in the scale the target reference and minimum capacity and maximum capacity. The greater than of threshold, the maximum capacity of replicas we have to provide, and less than of threshold reach, and automatically scale down their pods. So you need to explain in this way. And crash loop backup. So pod is crashing again and again. That is called crash loop. So in a professional way, you can explain the crash loop backup occur when container is repeatedly crashing and the Kubernetes restart it with increasing the delay. The common case included application errors, in case of missing of environmental variables, or probe misconfigurations, or insufficient resources. We have to troubleshoot to involving checking pod events or to describe the pod and container logs, and we have to check with resource limits, adjust the limits and probes. Then go with here how to find the lines 10 to 15 lines from 20 lines. Write this script. Okay. So you can say we can use for SED and AWK, but in professional you're really working on that the in this scenario you need to explain a SED -n 10 15p file test. This command is efficiently print only lines 10 to 15 from the line. It's commonly used from log analysis and troubleshooting. Okay, and some other AWS can also be work, right? So you need to explain that way also. And if server is some other question, if your server is pinging, copy the file or else don't copy. And so so ping the server are used for SCP. Now, in professional answer, we can go with ping that server IP. It is that output is redirected to that dev null uh, input errors two greater than ampersand one means input and output errors is redirected to the dev null only, and so above command is executed fine. We have to provide with if else if conditions. So dollar question mark execute zero. It is above command last command will execute fine. It is equal to zero or else it's going to another number. So above command is successfully done. It's the condition is true. Then the file copy is executed successfully. So ensure the file is copied only if server is reachable. The prevent unnecessary files is failure. So how to increase the number of servers by using. So if you know we know about count. Okay, in professional manner. So in Terraform we increase the number of servers by updating of desired state. This can be done by increasing of count or for each. So value of resources or by modifying of desired capacity of autoscaling group. After updating of configuration, running Terraform plan and create the additional server match of desired state. Okay. I hope you understand. So if you know the answer, but you cannot say exact answer, but you need to use for professional communication skills, and then with the interview standard, then only you will select which I observed. I'm sharing. Okay. and I create a document as well here also. So it is little bit be deep into that those questions. Yeah, what is inode? This is also be inode is a fundamental concept, is a file system. It is basically data structure, hold the all metadata about the file. It things like ownership and permission and timestamp. It does not store the file name, but it tells the system where file actual data is located on the disk. Understanding inode is help to troubleshooting of file system issues and understand how Linux handle the file internally. Okay, someone is asked to delete the manually resources in a cloud and how to revert back by using of Terraform. I miss. Okay, and if you, in other words, you're telling it interviewer that desired state of model and real world environment drift away from the what desires define the code. Terraform detect the drift and bring it back to line. Here I'm okay. Yeah. If resource was originally created by the Terraform, it is manually deleted by the cloud. You can say actually Terraform itself to restore it. The way you do this by running of Terraform plan. Terraform will notice that resource defined in the configuration is missing from actual cloud environment. After you review the plan and you run the Terraform apply, and Terraform will recreate the missing resources according to the code. Okay. And someone asked to be like Terraform plan and refresh difference. Refresh is to sync your state file within actual infrastructure without applying any changes. It, it is like updating your map and reflect the current territory. In other words, the plan, what you run, you want to be see what changes Terraform will make you bring infrastructure in a line within the configuration. And if you preview this action, Terraform will take. Together, these commands to help to understand the control how Terraform manages the infrastructure. So, in another Terraform workspace, let me talk about Terraform workspace. Yeah, yeah. A common use case of workspace you can use for managing with multiple environment like development and staging and production using with Terraform code base. For example, you have dev workspace and production workspace. So each maintaining own state, and in this way you deploy with the test the changes in a different dev workspace without affecting prod environment. That is case we can isolate it by using of workspaces. So the Terraform workspace let use same Terraform configuration for different environment by keeping a separate state file. It's particularly useful when you want to manage a different stage like dev and QA production without managing your code. Each workspace like separate separate instances for your infrastructure. It helps to keep environment is isolated. Yeah, and when you ask for Kubernetes architecture, the control plane is a master component. It a control plane is the brain of the cluster. It manages the overall state of the cluster and scheduling the application, handling the changes. API server is the in front door of control plane. It is a component that you and all other control plane to component to talk. When you use for kubelet, you interact with API server. Okay, it is a key value store, hold all cluster data. It basically data of Kubernetes. Control manager, it is a component of assure the cluster's current state matched your desired state. For example, you want to three replicas of pod running, and control manager make sure always three up running. Scheduler decide which nodes are unscheduled. The pod will run based on the facts like resource requirement. So worker node, in worker node, virtual machines is where your application actually run. And each worker node have few components. Kubelet, it is a agent. It is a agent that run on each worker node and make sure the container are running in a pod and talk to control plane. Proxies handle the network communication for the pod on that node. It makes sure each pod get IP address that network traffic is properly routed. The container runtime. This is a software actually run the containers and mostly commonly this is something is a container. So yeah, how to explain with interior? Kubernetes is the built with control plane that manage the cluster and worker node to run the containers. Control plane include components like UAP server, etcd, scheduler, and controller to maintain the device state. Worker node to run the actual application workloads. Which components, which kubelet and kubeproxy make sure a container running in the network correctly. What is HPA? Okay, in HPA, I will talk about this one. So HPA is a continually monitoring metrics. For example, you might configure to keep a average CPU utilization 70%. The load increases and CPUs goes about the threshold. HPA will add the more pods to spread out of the load. And when the load is decreases, it scale the pods to back to down. Okay. Um, yeah, and this is a crash loop backup. A crash loop backup means falling at the start successfully and crashing it repeatedly. Even the every time Kubernetes try to restart the container, it's fail. So it will back off and wait a little longer before the trying to again. It is a back off. So paid of increase of over time. It's why it's called as crash loop backup. Why it's cause application error, missing dependency of environmental variable, insufficient resources, or problem may be container image. We need to check it logs or describe the pod as well or check the readiness or liveness probe issue or sometimes resource limits. Okay, so how to explain interior? Um, Kubernetes habit to the pod repeatedly crashes and Kubernetes back off before starting again. uh, I would I would start with checking the pod logs to see what case of application crash and describe the pod, any events or probe of failure, or verify the resource request and environmental variable are correctly. Let me go with another question: how to find with 10 find out of 20 lines in the script? Yeah, so in this way we can use for set editor. Set editor, this is tell the set to print line between 10 to 15 of the file. So and another one you can go with AWSK file name. NR standard from number of record. So this is when print with 10 to 15. So some other way it's using head and tail. So you could also combine with head and tail. Say head minus 15 file and tail minus 16. This file get the first 15 lines and then take that last 6 lines which can be 10 through 15. Explain in this way. So you can say extract the lines 10 to 15 the lines in the shell script. I typically use for 10 to 15p. The file name are equivalent to AWS command. The both methods we can let's usually print with specific range of the lines. If server is copy, if server is pinging fine and the you can copy the file, so you can go ahead with which is already discussed before. Um, So here in Ansible and we are using copy module. So copy a source and destination, then only we can copy. So how to increase the number of servers by using a Terraform. Okay, here we can use for count. Okay, one of the simplest way to manage the number of servers in the Terraform by using a count. Okay, uh, this way. And if you want to increase the number of servers, you can want to adjust the count to value 3 to 5. So Terraform plan and apply. Terraform will detect with 5 instance instead of 3 instance. Additional server should be added. Or other one Terraform for each. So you want more control and stable of resource naming, you can use for each or map of set servers. You can handle it. So in the variables, you can declare the names, identity, and then if for each you can use for you know you can map or set with uh, these are variables you need to declare. There are values. Okay, and add more servers. You just add the servers list in the variables. Web 5 and web 4 and 5 in the list. Terraform will create the new instance without affecting of existing one. Okay, you can add here and automatically detect and recreate it without count. And similarly go with desired capacity, auto scaling group. Okay. And yeah, in Terraforms, you can scale the number of instance adjusting of count parameters in our resource block, or by modifying of desired capacity in auto scaling group. Terraform will apply these changes, bring the infrastructure in the line and new desired state. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. This is our interview related Infosys questions. Of course, you know about all interview questions, and but I'm trying to share what is professional manner, what is non-professional manner in the because everybody know the answer, but they can say most of the time they can say exactly answer. So instead of doing exactly answer, you need to use for your professional communication strengths and interview standard uh, s- to share your your answer with the interviewer. So that is a good practice. Okay. I hope this video will help to you, and thank you for watching for this video, and we will share upcoming videos. Okay, this is one of the interview tip. Okay, uh, thank you. Bye.